Hi, my name is Owen Fletcher. I'm the guitar instructor at the Academy of Richmond County. Welcome to our web series on improvising. This series is going to focus on the guitar, but the techniques that we learn can apply to any instrument, and I'm going to try to make sure that as we go through, I'm not just going to be using guitar tablature, we'll use regular notation as well so that you can learn these techniques on whatever instrument you want. We're going to be looking at 4 different lessons focusing on what I call 4 different levels of improvising. This is the level 1 video, and you'll find separate videos for levels 2, 3, and 4. If you are accessing this just on the web, you're welcome to just view these. I think you'll get a lot out of them. But this series is intended to be used as part of a blended learning unit that we feature at the Academy. And at the end of each of these videos, there's going to be an assignment for you to complete. There are also auxiliary materials for you to look at that go with each lesson. And all of this is going to be handled through our Edmodo page. So if you haven't yet started your Edmodo account, make sure that you do that. Feel free to message me, or if you've forgotten how to do that, or you need the group code. Make sure you stay tuned to the end of the lesson as well, so that you can see how to do the assignment that I'm going to give. Most of them are very simple, and I think you'll have a lot of fun with this one for improvising. You get to really be creative and just kind of do your own thing with the improvising. So I hope that you enjoy. Okay, so what is improvising? Well, a simple definition of improvising is spontaneous composition. Well, what does that mean? Well, a composition in music is anytime you're making a song, making a melody is what we're talking about on these. Spontaneous means that you're doing it on the spot, off the cuff. You're doing it without planning ahead of time exactly what you're going to play. So like a classical composer, when they sit down to make a symphony or an opera, they're taking their time working at the melodies. Same thing with a modern artist working at a digital workstation, on a keyboard or just in Pro Tools or Ableton or Logic. Improvising is doing that same thing, creating those melodies out of thin air, but on the spot. And it features prominently in a lot of traditional music styles from the last 100 years. Jazz, blues, even up into rock and country, and a lot of different kind of instruments, horns, pianos, guitars, just about anything. But even if you're not into rock or country or blues or jazz, you're into more classical, you're into the more electronic stuff, hip-hop, the skills that you learn by improvising carry over when you're trying to compose a melody carefully on a workstation or on music notation. Being able to improvise well will help you with those as well. There's a lot of evidence too that the great composers, the classical composers of their eras, were fantastic improvisers because they're the same skills. So it's really worth your while, even if you're not into blues. We're going to be focusing on the blues in this lesson. Even if you're not really into that, to pay attention to the techniques, because they apply to any genre, and they help develop your ability to just create your own music. Okay, so like I said, we're going to be talking mainly about the blues in this unit. And we'll look, in later lessons we might look at some other styles, but and the techniques work in all kinds of styles. But the blues is a very simple place to start. There are some simple scales, some simple chords. It can get complex, but it doesn't have to. And we're going to begin with a minor pentatonic scale. Okay, what does minor mean? Well, in music we have minors and we have majors. Minors tend to be the more sad tonalities, majors tend to be the more happy tonalities. So for example, here's an A major chord, and here's an A minor chord. Okay, so here is an A major pentatonic, here's an A minor pentatonic. And that's the scale we're going to be using. It fits the blues, it's very flexible. It works in jazz, it works in rock, it works in country. It doesn't work in every song, and every song has its own kind of scale and key that it gets played in, but this is a great place for us to start. So let me talk for just a second about how to play this scale. All right, the notes in the minor pentatonic, and by the way, pentatonic means 5, pentatonic, tone, 5 tone scales, 5 notes. So the 5 notes in this scale are A, C, D, E, and G in the key of A. So on the guitar, our A note that we're going to use, and there's a lot of A notes on the guitar, but we're going to start with this one, the 5th fret of the top string. that's the A, followed by the C, which you can play as the 8th fret on the top string. The D, you skip down to the next string, the 5th string. That's counting from the bottom, and we're on the 5th fret again. Then jump up 2 frets to the 7th fret on the 5th string. That's the E. A, C, D, E. Next note is here, down 1 more string, so we're on the 4th string from the bottom. Still on the 5th fret with our first finger. And then we end the scale here. This is an A. This is the 7th fret on the 4th string. A, C, D, E, G, and we're back to A. That's the octave of the note where we started. Now when you see this scale on the internet or in books, you'll see usually a pattern that goes all the way to here. And that's just a 2-octave pattern of the minor pentatonic scale. What that means is it's once you've gotten to this A and you go to this next note, that's the beginning of the next pentatonic scale. So you're really learning the same scale twice, just 2 octaves of it when you learn that scale pattern. And that's a really good thing to do. Let me finish walking you through that 2nd octave. So we ended here on this middle A on the 4th string, 7th fret. The next note, a C again, is on the 3rd string from the bottom, 5th fret. And the 7th fret on the 3rd string is the D. The E is on the 2nd string, 5th fret. Then with our pinky, we're going to reach out and grab the 8th fret on the 2nd string to grab the G, and finish with the A note on the bottom string, 5th fret. Sometimes you'll see scale patterns add this note. That's a C. It's just like the top string that we played earlier, A, then C. A, then C. And that's perfectly acceptable. When you're practicing the scale, I would stop on this note, because for the rest of this unit, you're going to need to really know where those A's are, and you need to reinforce in your ear what the A sounds like. That's the root note of our key. If we're in the key of A, the A is our it's called our tonic, our foundation note. A, A. A, A, A. You can find some auxiliary materials to help you play this scale, to see the order, to see the scale charts in the Edmodo assignment as well. So, before you go into the next part of the video that talks about improvising, pause this if you need to and come back to it. Take a look at that minor pentatonic scale, go through it, practice it, get fairly comfortable with it. Okay, 1st finger, 4th finger, 1st finger, 3rd finger, 1st finger, 3rd finger, 1st finger, 3rd finger, 1st finger, 4th finger, 1st finger. And that's playing the scale ascending. Ascending means from low pitch to high pitch. You should practice it descending as well. And that means from highest pitch to lowest pitch. If you're practicing this on some other instrument, just play A, C, D, E, G, A, anywhere on your instrument. The keys, horn, however it is you're practicing. Just find those notes, you'll be playing the minor pentatonic scale. In just a minute, after you've had some time to practice, we'll talk about how to use this scale to actually craft a solo. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you've been practicing the minor pentatonic scale. You should be a little bit comfortable with it. Let's talk about how do we use that scale to improvise a solo. Okay, first, improvising can be really scary because it's not like playing a pre-made melody where you know there's an exact right or a wrong way to play it. Improvising is about you making up whatever you want within certain boundaries, depending on who you ask, more boundaries, less boundaries. But basically it's up to you as the artist to decide what's right and what's wrong, what sounds good and what doesn't. So really, you can do anything that sounds right to you. And that's kind of scary when you're first starting off how to do this. I really feel like the lessons we're going to cover in this unit will help if you're just terrified about that process. The lessons here, the 4 levels, will really give you a good starting point for making this process easier. Okay, so what does that scale have to do with improvising a solo? Well, that scale acts like a road map. It tells us what notes will work and what notes won't work. So this note, all these notes, those will work in the songs that I'm going to be giving you. Different songs use different scales, different patterns for the fingers. They use different notes. They use different keys. Okay, so that can change from song to song. Everything in this unit is going to be based on this scale and this key. Okay, keep it easy. Later, we can get into how to do that other stuff. Okay, for example, though, this note is in the scale, and it'll work with the song. This note, maybe not so much. Now, if you as an artist really like that dissonance, probably going to sound kind of weird for blues, but you know, music is subjective. So if that sounds really good to you, you can roll with that. What I'm looking for in this unit, though, is for you to mainly stick with the minor pentatonic scale. We'll get into more complex scales and how to break the rules a little bit later. Okay, but for now, go ahead and learn the rules before we start breaking them. Okay, so our scale is our roadmap. What next? Well, sure, you have roads, but where do you go on them? We need a home base, a destination, a place we're trying to get to. And in music, we're going to call that a tone center. A tone, a note that is central to all that we're doing. It's the most important note. So we're going to use it more than we use the other notes. And we're going to use it to kind of shape and give structure to our solo. Okay, and that's where the 4 levels come in. At level 1, we have a very simple concept of a tone center. Our tone center, or our home base, is the same note as the root note of the key that we're in. So this is the minor pentatonic scale. We're going to be playing this with 12-bar blues in the key of A. So guess what note's our tone center? It's an A. There's one, there's one, there's one. We're going to use those A's, those tone centers, or our home base, as a jumping off point to create short musical phrases. What is a phrase? Well, it's just a short melody. If you think about, if we were to draw a comparison to sentences, okay, words are like individual notes. You put together a couple of words to make phrases, and then you create sentences by linking those phrases together. It's the same thing in a solo. You've got individual notes, and you're going to create short little phrases, and then you can link those phrases together to make a solo. And the A note is where we're going to start or stop those phrases. And again, that's a rule that you can be flexible with as an artist, but let me show you what I mean. So, here's our minor pentatonic scale again. Any of these notes is a right note. There's no wrong notes. But the A notes are stronger notes than the other ones while we're improvising in the 12-bar blues in the key of A. So here's an A right here. You can use any of the A's. I like this one, the one right here in the middle, because you have the option of going up in pitch or down in pitch from that A. Now, here's a little short exercise for you to do. Take that A and start with that note and then play any of the other notes in that scale to make a short musical phrase. Okay, for example, then play another one and end on that A, and then put them together. It feels a little awkward at first because you're not sure what to do, because again, this is about you making it up. But after you kind of start simple and work up to it, it'll get easier and easier. So let's take those same 3 notes that we just played, A, C, and D, and let me see what I can do with just those 3 notes. Just 3 simple notes. I made that up. I didn't write that out before I came and sat down to do this video. I just know if I use those notes, I can't go wrong. And I know that if I start and I stop on those A's, that it'll sound even better in the key of A. Okay, now that's very simple. We are going to branch out more, but you just need to get your feet wet on this first video. Just get yourself comfortable with using the minor pentatonic scale and the root note, A, to craft some musical phrases. And as we get better at this, we'll be able to create more complex phrases, and we'll be able to string them together to make more interesting solos. So, assignment time. For this assignment, I want you to record yourself playing some short musical phrases using the minor pentatonic scale in the key of A, using the A notes as a tone center. So 30 seconds of just playing around with it. You can shoot the video. I really would prefer video because I want to be able to see you and see your fingers. That'll help me give you better feedback. So if you have a phone, or if you have a webcam, or even if you have a camera that can shoot video, you know, any of those things is fine. Just a short little 30-second video of you playing some short musical phrases, doing what I just did. Starting some phrases on the A, or ending phrases on the A. Anything like that. Just about 30 seconds. Doesn't have to sound great, doesn't have to sound professional. All it's got to do is demonstrate that you know how to play the minor pentatonic scale and that you know how to find those A notes and use them as effective tone centers. Even if it sounds, you know, a little rough. That's fine. This is just our first attempt at improvising, and it'll get better as we go. Just one last note about the videos. WMV files, Windows Media, those are, if you're shooting this on a Windows machine with a webcam, those are not very good files for sharing on the web. A lot of phones nowadays, smartphones, will shoot in MPEG format, and that's a much better format for sharing files on the web. If you have any trouble with that, or you have any questions about how to do that, the technical side of the assignment, please feel free to contact me. I'd be happy to help you come up with a solution. Alrighty, next time we'll be talking about how to change the tone center to match the song. There's a background track in your Edmodo library under a folder in the class website called the 12-Bar Blues in A that you can practice along with. You can do this assignment over that if you want, but we'll definitely be using it for next assignment. So go ahead and be listening to that and download that to kind of get your feet, get yourself ready for that next lesson. Until next time.